officially live and whatnot. And so so we just normally chop it up a little for about 5 minutes until some people start coming on, and we'll see how many get. So just to let you know the way this works, Cheryl, it may be 10, 15 people on, maybe 8 or however. But at the end of the day, after it's all said and done, as I look at uh, go back and look on YouTube or Facebook, it'll pick up about 750 views. So
Okay.
people,
Um,
yeah, people can go back and look at it. You'll be a star after this.
um, well, I mean, it won't be the first time I've told my story. I
I
mean,
know,
as the
know
years
that's
go by, additional chapters
yeah,
get added. So,
yeah, okay,
and I filter what I want
yeah,
people to know, and
all right. Well,
that's
just
pretty
for
much
the
it.
sake, cool. Just for the sake of clarity, for those that have just joined us, officially we start at 8 o'clock. We're just chopping it up a little, waiting on some more people to come on in the room. If you got an opportunity, start sharing it with your friends. Let them know, we are on. This is the Smoking Jacket broadcast. And 8 o'clock, we're going to officially get going and get started and talk about some things and go from there. Jay Ferg, I'm definitely looking forward to Destination Hearth, man. It is going to be
30 days away, baby. 30 days
yeah,
away.
a relief for me, and to be able to get away and do some things different. So definitely looking forward. How'd you enjoy Tampa Cigar Week?
I mean, the Heritage
What?
Festival, it was good. It was
Yeah,
good. It's always a good vibe. It's
good.
it's always a good vibe in Tampa for Heritage Festival. I'm just glad they pulled back on that charging people to get in, because I
Okay.
was trying to figure out how that was going to work, because that would have been a logistical nightmare to try
Okay.
to. They would have probably spent like a good 15 grand just on fencing to try and fence that thing in. It's a big
Right.
thing, so I think they made the right decision
Okay.
by you know doing away with that whole charging people to get in and just letting people come in, because that's what it's known for.
Yeah.
As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, I mean, I like the concept so much that even with Destination Herf for the
Mm.
festival on Saturday, I'm not charging to get in there. Like, I'm making it a
Yeah.
free event. It's all about. I just want the vendors to get what they supposed to get from the people to interact, and I just want to
Right.
create a good vibe. I mean, because it doesn't, people. I don't know. But I think they made a smart move by doing that.
Right.
Yeah, I
Well,
was
look here.
surprised too when I saw that.
Let me do this. We got a couple people on. We really got 2 minutes, but I want to, don't want to lose any of these viewers, and hopefully they'll share the broadcast and what's going on. So this is the Smoking Jacket broadcast with Mr. Petworth. To the right of me is one of our co-hosts, Miss Lenessa Terry, and then I got Mr. Jay Ferg on the other side in Miami, Florida, doing his thing. And then we will introduce our guest, our special guest, in a few minutes. I just want to chop it up with Lenessa and Jay Ferg for a minute. Jay Ferg, man, what's going on in your world?
Yo, I'm just here, man. Just got done last week, finishing my last two events for the year. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
officially done for 2022. We gearing up 2023. Kicking it off with Destination Herf MLK weekend in Miami. And then I got a shit ton of events coming up 2023. So I'm gonna be very busy. So
Okay,
Nice.
that's
but busy,
uh,
busy, busy is good. The alternative
Um,
is sitting home twiddling my
yeah.
thumb, which I don't
and
want to do.
yeah, and I literally had a conversation with Anita earlier, the Greek goddess, and she said when you were in Atlanta, you invited her down, and so
Yeah,
I
yeah. I need to holler
told
at Benita. Yeah.
and whatnot. So that's cool, man. Vanessa, what's going on in your world? Miss Eclectic Realtor, doing your thing in the real estate industry. Glad to see that.
Yeah, it's busy. It's a busy month. I've traveled for the last 3 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
3 weekends in a row with family events, and of course, I was able to chop it up with Jay
Mm.
at the Tampa Cigar Heritage Festival. And we also got a chance to go over to Clearwater, Florida, and
Right,
check out some lounges over there. So that was very nice. But just really busy closing out the year strong in my real estate business, as you mentioned.
right.
and just getting ready for 2023.
Okay.
And of course, excited about Destination Herf, ready to kick that off for my first time there at that event with Jay. And then I'm going to head on to Queen City Cigar Fest. I know that's not until May, but I'm not sure if I'll be doing anything in between because I have some other personal trips that I want to do. So I'm excited about the year, starting the year strong.
Good. That sounds good.
What about you?
Well, I host of things going on. We're doing another health segment. I'm excited about that. We missed the show on a couple weeks ago. I was in New York. Had the opportunity to get on the Tamer Hall show, but was there for a convention and got to do some things while I was there that I normally would not do. After convention was over with, so was excited about that. Visited a couple of lounges. Oh my God, New York is kind of different. For a cigar that when I'm out, I like to smoke good. I usually will stick with some Padrones. I know it's safe for me, but man, I paid about $80 for a Padrone that normally would cost $28.
Yeah.
I mean, you're there, you're out, you're paying for it. Am I going to complain about it? No, I won't complain about it because it is what it is. But look here, excited. One, again, some health issues and whatnot that I've been battling with, and to keep in tune with what trying to promote good health in our men. Primarily our African American men, to make some better choices, get to the doctor, do some things, and wanted to follow it up with a segment dealing with women health, not just women's health, but women survivors. And hence, to the point, we have our special guest, Miss Sheryl Walker. I want to make sure the pronunciation of the name is correct. It is Sheryl, right?
Yeah, well, I'm a Bostonian, so I'm a little hard on the R, but yeah, it's Cheryl.
And I'll tell you, you've lost every bit of that Boston accent because I would never have.
I'm a Floridian now, and so but there's certain times when it comes out.
You know what? Let's do this and start this off this way. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do down in Orlando, in Florida, what it is that before we get into the crux of the show, you can talk about your cigar, ventures, some of the stuff you might want to promote coming up because you certainly have been doing your thing in the Florida area and following you. I have to say this. This young lady right here, when I went down to Tampa in the midst of that storm for a bet that I lost when Tampa played the Cowboys, and she was so gracious. I told her I would never forget this. You invited to your home. Like, if you need to get out that storm, it's not that bad here right now. If you can make your way, come. She opened up her home, didn't know me from Adam. And I mean, I think that was the most kindest act bestowed, upon a brother to leave, and I appreciate you for that. And so, without further ado, look here, just give us a little bit of insight on you. Okay, I'm ready to put you on here. All right, girl, you got the floor right now. All right.
Okay, so I'm Sheryl Walker. I in the cigar community here in the Orlando area. I am a brand ambassador for Pinch of Smoke Mobile Lounge, and I'm going to preface that by saying and other interests because there's a lot of things in the pipeline. So shout out to my cohort, my buddy, my brother, my co-conspirator in all things, CEO Tony Wiggins. Um, Special I love you to him because he's recently lost his mom, and so he will be traveling in a day or so to lay her to rest. So just wanted to acknowledge him. And we have a great working relationship and a great partnership and friendship. We had a very busy 3 days. As I told you, Chris, the bikers love us, so we do a lot in the bike set. We We had a busy year this year. We'll have a busy year for 2023. I also do brand ambassador for Orlando Cigar Fest. Um, Ernest Wilson puts that on. He's my very good friend. I've known him since he started out in promotions, and I'm super proud to see all of the tentacles that he has out with festivals and putting on concerts. And now we're going into this third year coming up in April, the week of the 12th. So get your white ready for our white smoke party that Saturday. It's going to be great. A lot of information will start to go live the first of the year in January.
Okay.
And me personally, I have been a cancer survivor, which is the topic of this discussion, uh, 4 times over now.
Wow.
First 2 times, I was 26, and then 3 years almost to the day, I got a second diagnosis in 1995, and then in 1999, I got breast cancer, and then came out of remission in 2012, and that's kind of the very truncated timeline of my experience. It's been a busy last several years of lots of surgeries, lots of procedures, lots of back and forth to doctors. But I will say in all of that, I had great care, uh, great team of clinicians that are worth their salt. In a great hospital system, there's no perfection in anything, but I purposely work very diligently to make sure that my care is holistic because as Black women and Black people, our voice gets heard the least a lot of times. And so um, it's your good stewardship to be your gatekeeper for yourself and to make sure that you do your due diligence in what's required. Sometimes you hear a diagnosis and the white noise comes on and you don't hear anything. But then after that, you just owe it to yourself not to check out and just rubber meets the road, and you have to be in it to win it.
Yeah. That one of the most important things that I just heard just a moment ago is not to check out. And I think that's most important that any of us, all of us, men and women, need to hear because sometimes we do mentally check out. And I mean, I can go as far back as remembering a young lady that was dealing with lung cancer. I mean, she thought that her world was coming to an end.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this because what she did, she said, well, if I'm going to die, I'm going to go and I'm going to spend everything I got, travel the world. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get this. I mean, and literally, she is still here today. I mean, she had to go back and rebuild her credit, do this because she had no intention of paying for nothing on her credit cards. She had already checked out.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Signing her own death certificate.
Wow.
And that, and I even had to tell myself, okay, this ain't the end of the world. I go on Wednesday, I get, see and praying for a good result and whatnot. Lost a little weight, almost 20 pounds. And in some pants right now that I probably hadn't had on in the last 2 years because when I put before the creases wasn't even showing in them jokers. But now I got them on and I got creases in them. So, but the first bout, and I believe I heard you say 3. Is that you 3, 4?
Sure.
Wow. And then we're talking about leading up to the point where you've had a double mastectomy.
I did. So
Okay.
timelining it, I was 26
Mm-hmm.
the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and then 3 years later, I was scratching on 30, and it was back, and it was a little bit more aggressive. And
Mm-hmm.
then in 1999, when I was 34, for those trying to do the math, I got diagnosed with breast cancer. So at that time, there was a procedure called the sentinel node biopsy. And so essentially, you had to meet a certain criteria. Your tumor had to be a certain size. You had to be a young, um, uh, be young in your cancer diagnosis, and I think two or three other criteria. So essentially, I met all of those. And so it was suggested to me that I would be a good candidate to try the surgery. It was not within protocols at that time. So while the Advent Health System, which is where I was, it's not a teaching hospital like Shands here in Florida. Um, they felt confidently enough and strong enough that um, I would have a great outcome. And me being in the insurance industry and risk management for a long time, I thought, my wheels were already turning about, I make a lot of money, I work for a great company, but so my health insurance was good. That's all I was preoccupied with, and just kind of trying to take it all in. And they literally had already, said, hey, if your insurance doesn't pay for it, we're prepared to write it off. So I knew it was a God thing then. Um, and then I kind of toned out,
Mm.
and the surgical coordinator, they were literally kind of just by courtesy tell me they already had everything scheduled. All I needed to do was show up, and I did. So essentially, years ago, when you would have a double mastectomy, and they would remove your breast and breast tissue, you would just be flat, all the way down to your chest wall. And so there wasn't any real room for the best outcome for reconstructive surgery. Uh, and now, and particularly um, now, meaning currently, even beyond when I had mine in 2015, um, if that's the decision that you want to do, there are multiple choices that you can avail yourself of or not. I chose to have a double mastectomy with reconstructive surgery. Um, and so they insert your expanders in. Nothing is put on top of the chest anymore. I'm a prime example of why they don't do that, because the last tumor was actually on the wall of my chest. It wasn't even in breast tissue. So you can't even know um, how significant that is when you have a doctor that was very vigilant in looking and making sure. She was a fantastic surgeon. Her specialty was breast surgery, and she was Johnny on the spot with everything. So I'm grateful for that. But sentinel node biopsy, they go into your armpit. So you give up a nerve for that, and then the harvesting of your lymph nodes isn't as aggressive. They don't have to take as many to sample to make sure that there's no metastasis um, there, and then potentially going elsewhere, through your lymphatic system. So I've had that twice bilaterally.
Well, I think at this point, and Jay Ferg, I'm gonna get to you, but the only woman co-host that I do have, I got to turn this over to Lenessa. I do have some other questions that and look, this really is an education part for really, because and I shared with Sheryl earlier that my daughter at the age of 34 had a double mastectomy, and it just turned her whole relationship world upside down because of an understanding man. And because we go there later, but I think
Mhm.
it's important for men to know it's not the end of the world for our black women. When this happens, the important part about this podcast and broadcast for this particular segment is to be encouraging and supportive to our women when we go through this, because in dealing with the prostate, when certain issues arise, they're gonna have to be supportive with you. So Lenessa, what do you have for Miss Cheryl?
So it's interesting that we had you on, Cheryl, and I love this because, like Chris said, it's very educational. I've only met one person, or known one person personally who had a double mastectomy before.
Oh,
So
wow.
she didn't share a ton of information, but she did share some. It definitely takes a strong-willed person to go through that process. So I'm curious about your, how you kept your spirits up and your morale, and what type of support you had around you when you made the decisions you had to make. You said you went through it twice. And it's been, what, 7 years now since your surgery, right? Your last
Um,
procedure.
yeah,
So talk
I
about your
had
morale.
the double mastectomy actually came about because when they were doing, because of my medical history, so every 6 months I was having to go. Generally, when you're in a good spot, you are annual. Uh, and so as I'm lying there having my ultrasound and scan, they brought the paddle up and said, "We're sorry."
Wow.
So my surgeon literally said, "Get dressed and come into my office."
Mm.
And we had a talk, and you know, at that particular time, I was caregiving to my mom, who was slowly dying,
That's a
and
lot.
so I had no. I mean, you think you have support until you're actually in the weeds and have to be doing stuff. And she said, "I know you have a lot on your plate, but this is where the rubber has met the road. We've had this conversation before. Um, you have nowhere else to go with this." Just for context, at that point, I had had several partial mastectomies, and she literally said, "We're done. Um, there's nothing else. What do you want to do? I'll support whatever decision that you want to make. Do you want to have them off, leave them off? Do you want to have mastectomy with reconstruction? Do you want to do prosthetics? Um, but we need to, the time has
Make
come."
the decision.
Yeah.
So
So,
what is the differences between what you just said, prosthetics, etc.? What are the differences, and
so
possibly what would be the best option?
um, I would say from a prosthesis standpoint, so you get like a cookie. It's a breast now with the augment of better design and technology. It's shaped like a breast. Years ago, it used to be foam, and a woman inserted it into her breast, and it was horrible, and it slipped out, and all those other things. You can have obviously implants. There are a variety of implants, and those continually evolve, so much so that now you can have them in longer. They don't put them on top of the chest wall anymore. As I mentioned, they mount intramuscular when your surgery is being had. So they do have to cut under the muscle. They put them in, and it's just a better outcome.
Mm.
There are some women who want to use their own body fat if you have enough to have it. So you'll have a fat graft, and that can be harvested generally from the bikini area and above.
Mm.
And so then that's put in. And then lastly, it would be if you choose to do nothing. With that, I would say for me, it's probably the bravest of that. You know, in our own vanity, you know, people forget that removal of the breast and associated anything else
Mm-hmm.
um, is an amputation of your body. You're having your body parts amputated. It's not just, a great set of boobs or whatever that, someone gets to enjoy. I mean, you're literally an amputee, so
Mm.
to speak, at that point. So, um, reconstructive surgery is not for the faint of heart in terms of um, what you may have to have, depending on the type of breast cancer you have, and depending on your chest wall and how aggressive they need to be. Um, I had a transplant, so essentially that means a piece of muscle was cut out of my back and transplanted into the wall of my chest. You can have another type of flap where they're literally taking your abdominal muscle and they're pulling it up and pulling you down, and then you're sewn across in order to help. There's just so many flap surgeries. They're very aggressive and take some healing time. So you do need to have support. Because my mother was literally in skilled nursing by that time. She went from ALF to skilled nursing in a matter of 30 days. Um,
Wow.
so I didn't have her. She'd been through everything else with me, and now I'm having to, care for her. So I had to bite the bullet, have my surgery, and trust that they would take care of her without me covering. I was the helicopter daughter, just like she was the helicopter parent in a lot of respects. And I think the following week, my father died.
Oh
So
no.
um, life, as I know it, was chaotic. But I had to suck it up. I'm single, and so as a single
I was
woman,
gonna ask. Yeah, I was
throughout
gonna
the
ask
week,
about the relationship. Yeah.
yeah, single and trying to figure it out, learning how to, be a caregiver, understanding dementia, Alzheimer's, understanding my own care process, having my own nurse come in to take care of me. It was a lot, but I'm here. Um,
Yes.
I
Get to talk
survived it, and from a surgery perspective, to answer your question, Vanessa, I did have it, the mastectomy once, but reconstructive surgery twice.
Okay.
So, and
Do you
then,
actually share with do you share your story with other individuals who are going through the same thing or something similar? Like, do you go and visit support groups or give back in that respect?
um, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer was in 1999. And so the American Cancer Society had just started this program called Look Good, Feel Better, that they finally trademarked. So essentially, what that was in your particular community, they wanted to have the patients look good and feel better. So they would reach out to the cosmeceutical industry, locally, hairstylists and things of that nature to come in and see patients that were either going through radiation and chemo, teaching you how to, draw your eyebrows on, naturally. You're losing your eyebrows, you're losing your eyelashes, you're losing your hair,
Things you don't think about.
um,
Yeah.
all of those things. And, you know, at that time, how am I wearing a wig and I'm bald? Um, what am I going to look like? I just want some semblance of me. And so, um, some retailers, Macy's was one, and Dillard's. They all would donate beauty products and things of that nature. And so you would have makeup artists and different people come in and just kind of give you a little something.
Boost.
Yeah, yeah. So I was a
That's
recipient of that. They have other programs. Uh, it's kind of like a ride share where people volunteer. Somebody calls their local American Cancer Society and says, I don't have a ride and I need to get um, to my appointment. They can do that, of course, here in our Metro bus system. There's now links access, so they can get door-to-door service if they have an appointment like that. So, This is some of the services.
Jay Ferg.
Okay. So my question is about health.
Mhm.
What changes have you made in your life in terms of your diet and and what you intake in your body since your diagnosis from the first time to the second time to now?
Um, you know, I kind of pondered, when people, ask, well, the first thing people ask is, do you have a family history of having breast cancer? And the answer is no. I'm that one in eight women that didn't have a significant family history. And so I feel like some of that, or most of that, if not all of it, was not within my control. So um, I try to quantify how I can be optimal. But I I have no perfection in what I eat or drink in terms of diet, but I try not to do things to excesses. But I do kind of compartmentalize how I eat sometimes. So sometimes I'm a partial vegan, sometimes I'm a partial Mediterranean diet. There's sometimes I need to have a little soul food. Um, I think that a lot of what happens now is somewhat environmental. I was born in Boston, and at that time we had lead paint. So for all I know, my exposure to that, and it's it could be any number of things, but I can definitely say that through genetic testing that I was required to have because I was so young, there was no significant typing in my family. So that test is called the BRCA1. It's the only test that's out there that checks for that. So I kind of just listen to my body. There's certain things that, when you're young, you're in college, and you eat and drink whatever, and, no consequence. And now I'm more thoughtful with it. I try to make sure that I have a certain amount of alkaline water that I drink for the month. And even that you can do too much of, and keeping the pH of that at 8 or below. Every now and then I go above it, but I don't have a magic formula. I think from my clinician standpoint, the obvious things, moderate to vigorous exercise, low fat diet, low sugar diet, um, you know, that type of things. But because I was raised to not be allowed to say we didn't like anything, I think I do pretty good with ate a lot of vegetables and fresh vegetables and things of that nature. So that's just kind of my own thing.
Hmm.
So how does your doctor feel about you smoking cigars?
And actually, my plastic surgeon, I'm not going to say his name. He used to be a cigar smoker, so he understands it culturally, but I do get the side eye. So when I know that I'm going to see him away, and he smells it right away, like it. So I have to literally purge myself right before. And I'm not some people smoke like all the time. That's just not.
Dang.
It's just that's just not my thing. Even as a brand ambassador, I don't do it all the time just because I'm cognizant that I got some shit going on. So I I
Right.
I do it when it makes sense, when we have an event. If I'm somewhere and somebody recognizes me and I have them with me, then I do a cut and light in order to foster relationship and add to the customer base. But I'm not an everyday. I'm not an everyday. They would rather I not. But I always clear. I have a cardiologist now because of the radiation. So I clear it. All my stuff is great. It's not shown up anywhere else, and I'm still rocking and rolling.
That's good.
My
So it's a
doctor gives me.
blessing.
My doctor was still smoking a
But
cigar.
mine too, and I haven't had any
Yeah.
issues.
And I mean, well, and I guess the thing is, in dealing with cancer and whatnot, and of course telling her I still smoke cigars, and she'll say, "No, you need to get them up." I mean, I would say this: I went from 4 to 5 cigars a day to smoking probably about 3
That's
a week.
excessive. And see, that's excessive. Anything in excess is terrible.
When
for
you were
Period.
in a lounge for 5 to 6 hours a day, 7
I've
hours
been there,
a day,
Chris.
I know, and
Did not smoke that
it
much.
just happens. I mean, I'm down. I'm down to about 3 a week
That's
because I
good.
don't have the urge to smoke every day now.
Yeah.
And when I do, it's more just even we talked about the eating piece. Now I will say by choice. Not by choice, but by really because I knew I was doing an intake of too much beef and too much of a couple other things, and then learning more about because I bought this book and learning more about what adds and to the growth of your prostate,
Hmm.
protein.
Yeah.
And a lot. So I changed my diet by choice to chicken and fish. I had cut
Yeah.
out the beef. Now, have I cheated? Yes, I have. So now what I do today is I make sure every meal that I eat, and I only eat twice a day, is 6 ounces
Okay.
of portion wise. So if I go to a restaurant now and I cheated just about a week ago, and
Perfection is good for the soul.
ordered a petite steak.
I was about to say,
And
you cut steak out?
yeah.
That's
She knows my favorite
unbelievable.
spot is Maestro's, and now I'll go to Maestro's. Let me tell you something. I would never go to. Every time I went to a restaurant, I was ordering a steak. I'm immediately
Oh,
tell you.
that's too much.
Now, yeah, it is. And but out of ignorance, you don't know how it affects your body.
Well, I
And so
will say
now,
this to you saying that about cheating. I think I can honestly say holistically, um, my primary care physician uh,
mm,
was a beast in terms of that, but she was never the doctor to say things in a punitive way because
mm,
she was just very factual and all about laying it on the line and you make your choices and these are going to be the consequences as a result.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
I think that as Black people, there's just so many obvious things that you can look at just in your overall general health, in terms of your fingernails, looking at your fingernail beds, the whites of your eyes, certain things around the cornea of your eyes, your hair, your hair health, um, your skin, just those types of things. Your body talks to you all the time. Um, we just have to be willing to pay attention. For me, um, I'm mindful that um, if I'm going to have a cigar, I limit myself. And usually, if I'm a social cigar smoker, there's an occasion where if I'm just like if it's been a week or two, then I will have one solo dolo out on my patio or my front porch. But most of the time, because I'm around it so much, we have a hearth get together every Tuesday. and other stuff that we're always doing, and then stuff I do for Penta Smoke. So it could be a lot. I just choose not to
Mm.
in that way.
I understand. Jay Ferg.
So you guys are talking about, like, I smoke. This is my fourth cigar for the day, right?
Excessive.
We're in no
But,
judgment zone.
but
I had
I
three
will
yesterday.
I will say this. So, like, started December 1st, I decided to cut out drinking for 6 months, right? And I cut out beef, pork, rice, bread, pretty much anything processed. I'm not eating it. Period.
Yeah.
If it's
Same
in a,
here.
if it's in a package, I don't want it. Like,
Mhm.
literally, I'm prepared to go shopping every 2 days to get my fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, fresh. Luckily I live in South Florida, so I have a lot of access to fresh fish at the
Well, I'm
different.
3 hours north of you, so
You know,
you know.
when I'm coming your way, I want to eat some fish. But it's a decision that I made. It's a decision that I just made, like, one day
Yeah,
I was just sitting here one day. I'm like, you know what? I said, I don't feel it, but I don't want to wait till I feel it to start making the changes. And I
right.
just, like, this was a time for my body, just give my body a break to
Yeah,
regenerate itself with some, just because I used to be a very, 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 very health conscious person, and because of my work schedule, sometimes I tend to fall off the wagon a little bit.
yeah,
And I started this thing the weekend I went to Tampa for Heritage Festival, knowing that everybody around me is going to be drinking and wilding out. And I said, if I can make it through Tampa, I'm good. I made it to Tampa without touching any alcohol. The events that I did 2 events this past week, right? And it's all alcohol everywhere. Everyone's drinking, posters and everybody drinking. And
as
I'm
I
like,
drink my glass of wine.
yeah. So I said that, I'm like, you know what? And everybody was like, well, why didn't you just wait until whatever? But my thing is always like, I guess I'm more about the preventative care. My sister
Yeah,
always had this saying that you either pay now or you pay later, right? So you either
yep.
spend the time and money to be healthy, or you spend the time and money in the hospital on doctors.
And it's
And
Right.
it's probably going to cost just as much.
it's going to cost.
I will say I've seen some of my explanation of benefits over the years, and I legit can say I'm the $6 million woman just about. Um, the radiation alone, um, in the methodology that was current at the time, um, that that yesterday's dollar probably pales in comparison to now, where it's a lot more high tech, but certainly more focused. Um, During my journey, they radiated the whole breast. So your opportunity for other things to go wrong with that uh, is great, right? So during that whole process, and even now, I just am mindful of, okay, if I feel I'm eating too much of something, I've learned to cold turkey a lot of things. So I'm heavy on vegetables. I do a lot of fresh fruit. If I find that which I've kind of been slacking on fresh food, I'm great with the bevy of vitamins that I take. And if I don't have it physically, then I have fruit that's frozen. So I will make a smoothie. I just don't do it all the time because of the natural sugars in the fruit. So there's always moderation in everything. So that's just kind of how I check myself. Uh, my previous primary, I'd said, hey, I'm bad with drinking water. Um, and his mantra was, you need to drink something. Water is ideal. Your 64 ounces. That's optimal. But because I am the person that I can have 8 ounces of whatever, and that 8 ounces may be only two. I'm just slow to drink things. So I have to consciously make an effort to do that. So that's how I I check that. I've not cut out all the white stuff, white sugar, white. I don't eat a lot of white bread. I'm a rice lover, but I eat all the colors of the grain. Um, I just think that if you manage it um, based on what your body dictates, um, that's probably the best starting point. And eating. I'm a Boston girl. I live in Florida, so I eat a ton of seafood. Ate a lot of fish, skin on. Um, and that's about as good as it's going to get um, for me. I feel like I've earned enough that I can cheat sometimes and and not deprive myself. I don't live afraid. Um, I've only in all these years maybe had once or twice where I thought this isn't good. And what do we need to do to upright the ship? And that was having a surgery. The second reconstruction was during the height of COVID. I
Hmm.
was actually more concerned about that than I was about the reconstruction. I mean, to me, the reconstruction was okay, been there, done that. This is COVID. And so it was a very tight rein around. I think there were only four of us in the OR: me, the nurse, the surgeon, and the anesthetist, and that was it.
Wow.
They didn't take any chances, but I had some other things happen as a result of that that were kind of long tailing. So it's never simple with me. If I'm the person that if I get something, it turns into this whole thing. So that's why I live my life to the best, to the fullest,
There you
unapologetically.
go.
Um, and I have to pick my big girl panties on if the fallout occurs. That I've been doing it for so long. I'm kind of in autopilot mode for that. Um, I don't know if that helps someone. I mean, when you're newly diagnosed, you're kind of almost nothing someone says can really take the shock out of that. And even for your loved ones that are co-survivors with you. Um, but I do tell women primarily. I do know a man that went through it. That for all the co-survivors that you can have, this is really your journey. So you
Right.
really have to be in the moment and be present about what happens next because your decision making at that point is critical. It's good to do your research and have great doctors on your team. If you're in good health or great health going into that, it's better for you in terms of the number of times I've been under anesthesia. I've had so much surgery now that I've developed an allergy for anesthesia. So anesthesia is a problem for me more than me probably having a cigar. I mean, to be quite blunt about that. So I don't take anything for granted. I
Yeah.
worked while I had radiation. I've had to suck up a lot. Um, but I'm grateful
I
for
can
it.
imagine.
Yeah, know, when you talked about anesthesia, I mean, I just literally found out, when you even get CAT scans, well, not CAT scans, MRIs,
Yeah.
and they have to inject a dye into you.
Hmm.
That's why they try to limit the number of CAT scans they give you because that dye it puts a very harsh um, hit on your kidneys
Wow.
Yeah.
because the more that you have and however it begins to it really there's some damaging factors to your kidneys every time you
Right.
go under the MRI, and I've had to take about 3 or 4 MRIs and this year, which is not really all that healthy, because matter of fact, the mercury. It's the mercury that is in there that is damaging to your kidneys. So I really try. Hey, is it something the CAT scan can find? But yeah. But we talked about some things prior to the show, and I said and asked you up front, is there any question that you want me to stay away from? You said, well, it depends what it is, and I did, but we talked about it. Are you presently dating right now?
The short answer is no.
Okay.
No.
I was going to ask a personal question.
Well,
I think it's coming from me.
it really did come. Well, I wasn't asking for me now. No, but no. The reason I asked that is because when it comes to something like this, and when it
Yeah.
comes to the mastectomy, the reconstruction, etc.,
Yeah.
does it affect because some men can't handle it, and then there is a possibility. Well,
Well, how would they know? How would they
well,
like in her
again,
situation right now?
she could be forthcoming and maybe tell, or if even if not, when it comes to the point where you begin to get to a point where you begin to be intimate,
Mhm.
the, certain men. I mean, like I told you, in my daughter's instance, her husband couldn't take it,
What could
he
he
left.
take? What is not to take? I mean, how do you? What is
You'd
Because he
be
couldn't deal with
surprised, Vanessa. You would be
the
the
amazed.
touch,
scars. He,
the feel, how
yeah,
they feel, or I mean, what is it?
yeah. It was. I guess it was a turnoff to him. So I asked the question because has it affected your relationship status? Has it affected just the intimacy with the men, etc.? I mean,
Um,
because the reason I asked it, let me be clear. The reason I asked, because again, education. This
right.
may help some other men more
Oh, yeah.
supportive
Yeah.
of their women,
I'm all for
of
that.
a woman,
Yeah.
and get through this process of what women go through. And so I think it's a fair question. You
It's
can choose not
absolutely a
to
fair
answer it, but
question.
I think that. So, can you elaborate?
I certainly can. So
Oh,
when I was
okay.
diagnosed initially, I was engaged, and he was
Hmm.
in the I can't handle it category.
Okay.
Mm.
In the context that he actually found alone before I did. Um, with that said,
Mm.
Oh wow.
when I was
Interesting.
already scheduled for women, well, woman, I was scheduled, and then I still had my other cancer follow up, so I went, and my doctor was literally on the phone with hospital team in the moment. Um, and then when I had my lumpectomy and all of that stuff, and then I tell him the diagnosis, he kind of said, "Well, yeah, I noticed a lump," and I'm like, "And you don't say anything like, what's that about?"
Mm.
And
Oh
did
wow.
not support holistically, did not support the process as a whole. Um, that's why I'm single, but that was years ago. But I say that to say, having been through that uh, firsthand, um, his explanation was the fear of it, and the fear of what ultimately, I guess, would have may or may not have been the outcome of that. But I'm like, don't speak that into my existence. I mean, come on,
I
let's.
think that was cowardly. That was cowardly, really.
Um, and I also will say that it hasn't happened since. Um, I think that in my community, especially back then, I did a lot of speaking to the subject most of the time because a lot of people that asked me to come somewhere and speak were just shocked that I was so young. At the time, I don't know what age they thought it should be happening, but I get that they realize that at 34, I'm on my third diagnosis of cancer. So, um, but I will say that every person that I've allowed to be in my space like that has not had a problem. I don't want to speak for a man, but I will say that some of the things that could be unsettling, if that's a word to use, is if you as a man think that it's hard to look at the scars once the breasts are removed, imagine looking at it every day in the mirror. I find that the biggest thing that I want women to have a takeaway from when they have had any type of reconstructive surgery is if you look in that mirror and you allow that to get in your head like that, it will take over. It takes over your psyche and it becomes a whole um, other being. Um, and so there are women that are afraid to get implants and things of that nature. They don't want any more surgery afterwards. So what's left is the legacy of having those scars, your scar line, all the way across. You don't see your breasts anymore. You don't see your former self. Um, you know, depending on how many lymph nodes you've had removed, you may have had to have other tissue removed. So there's a lot to contend with, and then to have to deal with someone else's um, emotional, lack of wherewithal can be a lot. I think ultimately the goal is when she needs to cry, let her cry. It's a grieving process. There's anger, there's disbelief, there's all of those things that come with it. But I'm happy to say that for the other men that were much more evolved, they didn't care. Um, the more significant relationship after that, he said, "Oh, those are scars. They don't make you. They don't define you. You're beautiful the way you are. Um, I don't care." He just literally did not care. He cared about why they were there, not that they were there.
So let me ask you a question. When you
Right,
first got diagnosed,
right. And that's yeah, and that's yeah.
let me ask you a quick question, Quinn.
What was that, Jay Ferg?
I was gonna ask, when you first got diagnosed, did you ever have the feeling of like the why me, why is this happening to me type of feeling? I mean, 'cause you say you don't have a family history of it, so was that ever like a thought in your mind like why me?
Um, I think because of my two prior diagnoses, the natural path of travel going up was going to be to the breast. Uh, so at that point, you get weary. You get a little battle weary. I don't know that it was so much of a why me so much as a what now, or
Okay.
what or what next. Because in I remember transparently, I remember feeling like somebody said something to me about not having work or something about a career choices. And I said, listen, while you were in your 20s and 30s and 40s, making moves to do that, I was staying alive. I'm cut side to side, and I'm taking care of a dying parent. I had a parent die in the process, and I would go to work 5:30 in the morning to 1:30 in the afternoon, and I would, or 6 to 2:30, and I would race downtown to take my radiation, and then
Mm.
I would be zapped from that, and then drive 30 minutes back home and get in bed and do it. And I did that for, I think it was 8 weeks of radiation. So um, it's one of those things where I went into overdrive, just trying to um, keep going, keep myself going. But I got to, when I came out of remission, that's when I kind of tapped out in 2012, and I'm like, you know, but I
Yeah.
I I just never felt like sorry for myself in that way. Um, I just felt like, well, okay, well,
Right.
let me get ready for this battle.
So my follow-up question to that is now that you're in this space, how often do you get screened now? Or how often do you follow up with your physicians in terms of screening to make sure that it's not returning?
Okay, so once you're diagnosed and once the cancer is there, your care team is your care team until you're no more. Your frequency is determined by how healthy you stay during that process. So I've been 3 months, every 3 months, every 4 months, every 6 months, every year because of my particular history. Your goal is to get to 1 year, to get to do the 6 months, to get to the year, and then to get to your 5 years. Um, and then with implants, obviously, there's no more mammograms. That said,
Mm.
mammograms are highly important. I've had needle guided biopsies with the gadolinium dye, as Chris was mentioning. Before. I've had, if it was to be had, I had it. Um, However, just because your breast tissue, and this is true for men too, just because your breast tissue is removed, you still need to be palpating your glands. So up near the collarbones, your armpits, in your neck, behind your ears, um, all of that. So
Mm.
breast
But
self exam, the BSE, that's what it is, breast self exam. So you can still do most of it. And honestly, my surgeon, my plastic surgeon, he still does BSE when I go for my follow up, just checking the integrity of my skin, and making sure that all of that is great. The goal ultimately though is to not want to see anybody for a year. One year is it, whether it's your medical oncologist, your breast surgeon, your radiologist, whoever it is that you see, cardiologist, if you've had left-sided breast cancer, it affects your heart. You can have heart damage as a result of that. So then you have to have a cardiologist come into to the picture. But I'm 1 year
We
on
got
everything.
about 2 minutes left. I have to say this because I'm not sure what is going on. I had to grab my phone
Yep.
because normally I would see the live
Yeah,
comments
normally we have
come up, and I noticed. I said, "Wait a minute, hold on." I know
I
out of
didn't see
all of
any.
this,
Yeah.
we would have and so I went to my Facebook, and they are all there. I mean, there are a host of comments. So I encourage anyone looking
any
that's
questions.
on the. There's no questions, but there's certainly a lot of support. Definitely, I mean, from courageous to Vanessa Hill, support is the key. A friend of mine, Eric Bernard Canty, he says, "Bless your heart, Cheryl." And even Chanel Peoples chimed in. She has a mammogram on Friday, and I mean, and it's encouraging people to get on it, no matter what. I will get that fixed. I'm not sure what's going on. That's why I post it, and I can see my own post, but I can't see anybody else's. I kind of have a feeling what's going on, but I'll get that corrected. But Cheryl, I always like to make sure I stay within the window of our broadcast, and not labor too long on the subject because it just keeps people tuned in. But I certainly, before I turn it over to Jay Ferg for closing remarks and Lenessa for closing remarks. I'm not even going to do that right now. Jay Ferg, you got anything to close with, man?
No, I just want to say, I wish you continue great health. Continue to be brave, continue to be strong, and I hope that you continue to stay cancer free. And I want to hit that 5 year mark when you don't have to go see a doctor for 5 years.
On this last little cycle, I'm getting there. I will be, so 2019. So I've got one more year from the last one.
Nice.
Good.
And I just want to thank you for sharing your story with us. We really appreciate it, and
Thank
it definitely
you.
will inspire our viewers to get their mammogram annually
Please.
or however whatever frequency your doctor recommends, and keep doing you, Cheryl. Keep doing everything you
Thank
want to do in
you.
life, like you said. You want to live
Thank you.
your life the way you want to live it in moderation, and we definitely wish you the best of health and hope to meet you
Thank
one day
you.
soon.
Yeah, I would love that.
Um, so, look, first of all, I appreciate your courage. I appreciate the time you took to come on, share your testimony, your testament to what has transpired in your life. Hopefully, it is most educational, not for just the women, but for the men, especially us men,
Yep.
that may have to one day support this particular disease that may occur. And I pray that it does not in the life of our women. But I think through the encouragement that she has provided for us, it gives us a little bit of knowledge. It's not the end of the world. Sure, look, if you don't mind, just stand up because, girl, you still got it going on. You look good. I just put the girl, just stand up. And just hey, give it all to him, girl. She's a bad mamma jamma. All right, look, and look,
That's 58.
I,
I'm
whew,
58. I
no,
just turned 58 in October.
Wow.
all right, all right. Well, happy
Happy
belated
Oh,
belated.
that's fine. You
birthday.
said 58.
And
58. Yeah.
yeah,
You look good,
Amazing.
girl.
I have to
hey,
sometimes go, what? But yeah, I'm 58.
You
yeah.
look good, girl. Keep doing your thing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for having me. Please get a mammogram. Please, please, please.
um,
Ladies, guys, collarbone
yeah,
out,
yeah,
armpits,
definitely.
neck, and
And
under.
I'm coming. I'm gonna make it down there and visit. I'm gonna make it down there and visit, and hang out, get some cigar lounges. We're gonna make it happen. All right. But the most important piece of this is the education, um, the awareness. It's real. It's part of life.
Yeah.
It's not the end of life, unless you make it the end of life. And so, with that being said, we encourage you. The one thing I like about what we try to do in the format of this particular broadcast is to not just make it about cigars, to make it something while we smoke cigars, to talk about everything from the things that may affect your life, hinder you in life, but at the end of the day, to give you encouragement for life to move on so that we can continue to enjoy the things that we like to enjoy and move forward in life. And so I thank the co hosts, Jay Ferg and Rob, in his absence, had to move his mother. Prayers to you, man. Hope everything went well there. Safe
Mhm.
travels back from
Yeah.
Philadelphia.
I saw you.
Yeah, he's definitely watching. Yeah,
Mhm.
because I had to find out why I couldn't get these comments in here. Would have loved to have them. But do me a favor, share the show, put it on your page, let people watch for themselves to be informative. I appreciate the fact that after the show is said and done, we do get additional views, as much as anywhere from 500 to 700. And so this is one of those particular shows and segments of the show that we want to share with our friends to be able to heighten the awareness of things, and one, and most importantly, be supportive of what your partners, what your significant others, what your husbands, what your wives go through, that we may continue to encourage them, because it's not the end of the world. Right. Certainly not the end of the world. And I'm in this fight, overcome, and we are overcomers. Cheryl, appreciate you overcoming and surviving and sharing your story. And any closing remarks you want to give us before we sign
off? Please
you got anything you want to give us?
Well-women exams, men, get your physicals done, foster a relationship with your urologist. Breast self-exam is so key. It's not even just the breast tissue that you're palpating, but you're also palpating up underneath your breast, and you're in your lymph nodes, feeling for swelling, tenderness, those types of things. Those are the biggest. I would say I'm very much a proponent for when it's your age time to get your checkups done, get them. If you don't do anything else, get them done. And be honest with your doctors. That's what they're there for. That should be your person you tell everything to.
And because you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, really, literally, things that we keep from our doctors.
Yeah, I was taking a supplement that actually my doctor said stop taking that immediately. She had just lost a patient to taking it, and I was taking it on the advice of someone else. So after that I said never again. I could have killed myself.
Yeah. I mean, even supplements, vitamins, stuff like that. A lot of actually, well, you know what I just found out? Most vitamins in pill form are really not good for your body. So it's better to take more natural supplements.
Yeah, I take
that
powdered
are
and
easily
liquid.
digestible.
Nothing hard.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And mine
I
are
mean,
made by a doctor.
there's a lot that we have to know and must know.
Yep.
Because all these vitamins that you see, aren't necessarily always good. I noticed when I was taking these one-a-day Vitapacks for men, and there was about 6-7 pills in there. But in taking them, one, I noticed like it really changed the color of my urine. It was like a bright yellow, like really like
okay.
TMI. I'm just getting. It was highlighted yellow. Okay. But I was just getting because it and I wonder why this was. And well,
she said, "Pay attention, right? Pay attention
because
to your body."
all of this stuff is not good. And then it made me feel some type of way. I had like a burning in my back, so it was taking a toll on my kidneys, and it was taking a toll on my liver.
Yeah.
Something you thought was going to
help. Oh yeah, stuff that but because all of it, your body may not be strong enough to make the adjustments for these vitamins that you're taking.
In addition to other stuff.
And so it may affect your health more than it may help your health.
Right.
So that's why I started doing the natural stuff like juicing and doing my kale and my beet and my that through that form to get those. And then here's the other thing: being on blood thinners, but like I'm on Xarelto, so Xarelto is good with vegetables stuff like that. But if you're on like Coumadin, go ahead and eat greens and kale and all that stuff. It will kill you.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain vegetables you cannot eat with certain blood thinners because it heightens the vitamin K in your body, and too much vitamin K can kill you. You know, so we have to educate ourselves further in certain things before we just start. You know, oh, I got this
Absolutely.
for you and take this and leave. No, don't work like that. So, but Cheryl, thank you.
You're
Jay
welcome.
Ferg
Thank you so
and
much.
Vanessa Terry. Thank you for coming down. Yeah, look, just hang
Thank
on
you,
a second. I'm
family
gonna
of
go off
belief. I
here. Look,
appreciate you.
have joined us. Look, thank you as always for joining the Smoking Jacket broadcast. Taking the time to sit here with us and talk about the most relevant things. Next week, looking to have a special show. I'm working on it. A lot of us know Marie Monroe. I'm looking to forward to having her and Little Nugget on the show. I've been trying to work on this, but the one thing about being in a still COVID environment, I really would like to do the show with Nugget on the show. So I'm working it out where I can go to her house. We need to raise money for this young lady. And when I say this, it's because she has taken on the task of uh, taking care of her grandchild through
Basically full time, right?
full time
Mm-hmm.
while trying to work, while trying to maintain life. This young lady, due to some bad choices of the parents, became the drugs involved, messed the baby up, messed the little nugget up, and she's on her 14th surgery right now.
Mm.
But I mean, when I tell you, when you look at the smile on that young lady's face,
Yes.
the things that she has gone through, she don't look like what she's been through,
At
and
all.
the pain. And so I'm gonna be
Just like
perfectly
Cheryl.
honest. I'm
Well,
gonna be perfectly honest. My goal is to set up a GoFundMe page for her.
mhm.
I'm hoping Vanessa, you might can help me with that. I wanted to be able to go straight to her bank account, and my goal is to raise over $5,000, so that the state does not pay for everything. She
Right.
is on state, but it does not pay for everything. I mean, even on the way to the hospital to pick little Nugget up, she was involved in a car accident,
Yeah.
and it's just things like that. And um, you know, I spend when I go out, if I'm not in Petworth and I go in a cigar another lounge, and you want to support that lounge, just
Right.
like you want people to support your home lounge. Yeah, I spend $150 on cigars sometimes. Even though I got a box full of cigars, take that time to say, you know what, my cigar purchases for the day is going to go to that GoFundMe for Little Nugget, because let me tell you, there's nothing that is going to that money is going to be used in any other kind of way but then to support this Maria Monroe and what she's trying to do for the life of this young child, to get her to lead and live a normal life. And some of the things and struggles and leave that she's had to take to make things happen. She had to quit one job to go to another job because she has exhausted certain things, and the stress of life can wear you
Mhm.
out.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get this resolved prior to the next broadcast, get this worked out, and get on our way to support her and her ventures. And stay tuned for a special post from me for Wednesday about Barbie and what she's trying to do in raising money to make sure kids have a great Christmas this year. So, with that being said, thank everybody for tuning in. Thank everybody for joining. This is Mr. Petworth, Vanessa Terry, and Jay Ferg, and Miss Cheryl. God bless you, young lady, with your little 58-year-old son.
Happy holidays,
Hey,
Cheryl.
happy holidays to you. To all my viewers, happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays.
Blessed Christmas, and we thank God for you, and we are out. Don't go nowhere, y'all. I said.